family-owned shop in Loganville, Soesby's Garage for all your automotive repair needs. We service all makes and models, foreign and domestic. We repair engines, alternators, brakes, alignments, AC systems, and more, using certified technicians with over 90 years of combined experience. We also offer same-day service for some repairs. Soesby's Garage, 200 Bay Creek Road in Loganville. Dependable, honest, and fair. Look us up on Google or Facebook. We'll take good care of you.
Broadcasting live from the Subaru of Gwinnett studio inside the Sonesta Gwinnett Place Atlanta Hotel. It's time for Case in Point, presented by Paradigm Security Services. We are the cornerstone of security in the Southeast.
Hey, welcome everybody as we kick off another Case in Point presented by Paradigm Security Services. I'm your host, Rick Strawn, President of Paradigm Security Services, and we are excited to be with you today on Business Radio X. We are coming to you from the Subaru of Gwinnett Atlanta studio, located in the beautiful Sonesta Gwinnett Place Atlanta Hotel in Duluth, Georgia. Each week, as those of you know that listen in, we plan to feature businesses in the Atlanta area, especially those that serve Gwinnett County. While all businesses have security concerns, not all are about physical security, and we will touch on that and all related aspects of security through the course of each show. Our guest today, I'm very pleased to have with us somebody with Gwinnett Medical Center Foundation, Mr. Jason Chandler. He's the president of that organization. How are you, Jason?
Doing great, Rick. How's it going, man?
Great. Glad to have you here, man. There's so much going on in Gwinnett County right now, in Gwinnett County Medical Foundation and the Gwinnett County Medical Facility. There's just so much going on with that. We got so many good things with the heart stuff and all that. It's awesome. But I wanted to kind of get with you, and before we really get started, I like to find out who the people we're talking to. So let's just ask the old question, who is Jason Chandler?
Well, I think before I left this morning, I talked to my wife, and so since we're on business radio, I've got to plug her new business this year. It's Epi Skin Spa. It's EPI. Skinspa.com, and so she's an esthetician over in the Snellville area, and so I just want to give a shout out to Monty.
Hey, absolutely.
So I'm husband to Monica. I'm dad to Jacob and Olivia. Grew up in Knoxville, Tennessee. Go Vols.
Go Dogs.
I tell all my Georgia fans we can agree to hate Florida.
There you go.
But grew up in Knoxville, and that's where I went to UT Knoxville, met my wife there. Ended up going to graduate school in Indiana for philanthropy, nonprofit management. So I like to say I'm the chief philanthropologist, or the professional beggar, I guess.
Yeah, works for me.
Yeah, so I was at Emory for a while, and then Belmont up in Nashville, and then came right back here to where our kids were born at Gwinnett Medical Center.
So you've been hanging around Gwinnett Medical for a few years now.
Oh yeah, man. I'm not only employed but a client.
I hear you. Well, when did you start with Gwinnett Medical?
2009. So I've been there for 10 years now.
That's a long time today for anybody to be in a job, much less one that they love.
Well, we've got a great organization, a great mission. There's a lot of things that we can do to make the community healthier. We've got incredible staff at the foundation, and our volunteers are just terrific. So that alone just makes it hard to even think about going anywhere else.
Well, I know that the foundation itself is the financial raising end. The what do you call it?
We're the fundraising.
Fundraising. I knew I was looking for something. Yeah, the fundraising interest. But there's a lot of history with GMC going on, and I think they're about to have a birthday, aren't they?
That's it. Yeah. So I am going to tell you that story. We're celebrating 75 years this year of the beginning of Joan Glancy.
It's almost as old as Raymer's Hills.
Hey, Raymer. So it's really interesting that the whole hospital system started with philanthropy, started with people giving back to the community for things that they saw that they needed. There was a tragic situation where there was this six-year-old little boy named Olin Burnett, and his dad worked for a man named Dick Hull, who had a dairy in Duluth. Now, this was a time when there was only 40,000 people in all of Gwinnett. There's 20 times that many now.
No kidding.
And And so he went to his boss and said, I need the weekend off to bury my son. And Owen was just 6 years old, and he died unnecessarily because in Duluth, there was only 600 people in Duluth, and there were shopkeepers and farmers, and that was about it. And there wasn't a doctor. And so the community got together. If you know Catherine Willis, her family, the Parsons family, they owned the grocery store there, and so everybody rallied there. Farmers came together. The whole community, and people were given 25 cents a week, 10 cents a week in order to get a doctor there and to have what ended up being a one-room clinic to start off with, and it was a janitor's closet. Well, Dick Hull, who owned the dairy, his wife told her parents about it, and they were up in Michigan, and that's where you get the name Glancy, because General Glancy, he worked for General Motors at the time. The guy actually named the Pontiac. It's just kind of a little bit of information.
Cool.
And that family lost a daughter named Joan when she was 4 years old. I think they were vacationing in the Caribbean. It was a similar situation. There wasn't a doctor around, and she died unnecessarily. So he was inspired by what all the farmers and the community members did in Duluth, Georgia, and so he sent $1,000, which was a big deal. And
it's a lot of money at that time.
And in the early 40s, late 30s, that was a big deal. Well, he insisted to come down and see what they had done, and they were all proud of this one-room clinic. And he said, "Well, where is it?" And he said, "No, that's no good. We can't do that." And so he invested lots into building a hospital, a small clinic, and it was interracial. So they welcomed many different races, all races, into the hospital system, which wasn't always the case everywhere in the United States. So that was fantastic. Well, it grew, and starting from that one tragic situation, you ended up having Gwinnett Hospital. Then that turned in 1984. We built the South Tower in Lawrenceville. We built the North Tower in 2009. So from that one little small community in Gwinnett, those people coming together to bring a doctor and a clinic. Now we have 6,000 employees. There's over 1,000 doctors. There's $1 billion budget a year for 2 different campuses and lots of different facilities around Gwinnett. And while it would have at the time been no comfort to the parents who lost their child, you kind of look back and say, how many lives have been saved?
Absolutely.
And the county grew as the hospital grew. So it was economic development implications there, and that one tragic situation, and then the philanthropy that responded to it, really brought us to where we are today, which is one of the best hospital systems in the nation.
Well, you've got that. A lot of people don't even realize that Joan Glancy is part of the Gwinnett Medical. It's just kind of like that's our hospital, and they don't really think about it. But those 2 campuses together they comprise quite a medical staff and quite a medical history to go with the 2 of them.
Yeah.
You mentioned the philanthropy. I know that the Heart campaign, and you got fishing. Tell us about some of your campaigns that are going on right now.
Well, just to kind of expand on after the expansion of the hospital. We were the largest county in 2008. We were probably the largest county in the nation that didn't have an open heart surgery center, which meant that if you had a heart attack at 7 o'clock in the morning, you had to get on I-85 and go down to Emory or Piedmont. And many people know that the more time you waste, the more heart muscle dies. And so the whole community once again came together and helped to bring open heart surgery here to Gwinnett. It's interesting because people don't realize that hospitals, half of all nonprofit hospitals, of which Gwinnett Medical is the only one that's based in Gwinnett, half of all the nonprofit hospitals in the nation, they operate at less than 1% operating margin. Another way of saying that is it would take $100 million worth of revenue in order to put $1 million back on the bottom line, and that helps us to hire new people or build new buildings, more quickly. But with philanthropy, that goes immediately to the bottom line. Well, with the Heart campaign, just associates at Gwinnett Medical Center, out of their paychecks, gave over $1 million to bring open heart surgery here. We raised almost $10 million for that campaign, and it really was crystallized for me just a few years ago when I got a call from one of the nurses on 5 North, and she said, "Jason, you got to come and see this patient. It's amazing. It's a miracle." I'm like, all right. So I got over there, and the door was cracked open slightly, and she was praying with her son and her daughter, and I mean, she couldn't have been 50 years old. And she was at Gwinnett Medical Center for just like this routine procedure. It was, I think, I want to say it was like a kidney stone they couldn't blast out. They had to take it out with a little tube, but like a 10-minute procedure. But that turned into 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and the surgeon said, "We got to get out. There's something wrong." They went upstairs. They discovered that her enzyme levels were off the charts. She had 90% blockage in one artery, 100% blockage in the other artery. It's one of those where if she had had the heart attack, she would have died before she hit the ground.
One of those widowmaker type things.
Yeah, but she was in the Strickland Heart Center probably years before she otherwise would have been if we had to rely on revenue. And so, philanthropy saved that woman's life, or at least in part, because that open heart surgery center was right where she needed it to be at that point in her life. And it may not have been there as quickly if the community hadn't come together and the associates. So it was like that was one moment where I thought, what we're doing is saving lives. I mean, we don't have to be smart enough to be doctors or nurses, which I'm not. We can do our part, and we can make things happen here for the citizens in Gwinnett and give them the services that they deserve.
That's one of the most important things that, people, always got somebody that's saying, well, we want to, give us money here, give us money there. I think if you take a look at what it is the money goes to and what it really, if you stop and take a breath and look at it and then decide what you want to give to, it makes a big difference. And the big thing is finding something where that majority of that money doesn't go to administrative costs. It actually goes to the reason that it was formulated,
right,
which is what the Gwinnett Medical Foundation does. The majority of it goes to the foundation and goes into support of the medical center.
Well, the unique thing about us is that it's 100% because we're associates. We're employed by the hospital. They pay for our operating expenses, but that enables us to go to donors and say that 100% of what you give goes directly to where you want to designate it. So there's no direct overhead. So, in other words, when Rick Strong writes $1,000 check, which I hope you do it today, when Rick Strong,
I'll call Susan.
Yeah, when you give $1,000 to our cancer center, $1,000 is going to go to the cancer center. So, by the hospital paying for our operating expenses and then us going out to the community raising money, we're enabling donors to direct their philanthropy to wherever they want it to go, and 100% is where it's going to go.
That's terrific because there's so many of them that have so much that goes to administrative stuff. They've got to pay everybody big salaries, and everybody just looks good and all that. And then, they tout a lot of giving, but the bottom line is not a lot of it goes to where it's supposed to go, and that's what turns so many people off. There's so much in the news about that, and it's great to get that information out. That 100% of it goes to what it's supposed to go to. And I know that y'all working with the hospital as employees, that makes a big difference.
It does. And I think that one of the reasons why we've been so successful, I think that I had mentioned before, we've got just an incredible board that helps us to raise a lot of money in the community. And it enables them, gives them the confidence they need to go out there and say, hey, look, we're not going to waste your money. It's going to go to where, we want it to go, where you want it to go as the donor. There have been so many different things, like just in the last few years that, we've, through the donations we've made possible, we've expanded our Center for Cancer Care. Back in the day, one of the largest gifts went to cancer, and Marion Allison Webb, who was married to Jones Webb, and she was kind of a pioneer in the community when she was involved with the newspaper and coming out and bringing attention to why it's important to get breast screenings. And people just didn't talk about it in the 70s and the 80s, and so we have the Marion Allison Webb, Diagnostic Center over at Gwinnett Medical Center because of it. We've expanded that over the years. The Stricklands have been just incredibly, Clyde and Sandra Strickland have just been absolutely wonderful. God has blessed Gwinnett Medical Center and Gwinnett County through those two people. I like to tell the story about when Clyde likes to go fishing, and so I like to go fishing. So, hey, let's go out fishing. And one day we were on a fishing boat. He said, Jason, who's going to name that heart center? And I said, well, you are, Clyde. And he said, well, what would that take? And I said, well, you and Sandra over the years have given a couple $1 million to different things across the system. And so you're almost halfway there.
Well, I think I can cover that.
Yeah, and he thought about it for a minute, and he said, well, can we do it over a few years? Yes, you can. We can make that happen. We will help you finance.
How many years you want?
Yeah. What do I need to do to get you into this philanthropy? But yeah, they named the Heart Center. They also have a diagnostic and screening center over at our breast health center. They've just helped us even create our graduate medical education program. I was talking about earlier how large we were, the largest county in the nation that did not have an open heart surgery center. A few years ago, we were probably the largest county in the nation that did not have an academic medical center. But now we do. And part of that is graduate medical education for family medicine, for internal medicine. We've got a sports medicine component that's coming online. And we recognize that so many tax dollars go into K through 12. You've got Hope Scholarship that goes into college, and then there's even medical scholarships. And then I forget the exact statistic, but it's a vast majority. Let's say 70% of all of the physicians that do their residency somewhere, that's usually where they hang their shingle.
Exactly.
So they may be in Georgia for 25 years of their life, and then they go to Pennsylvania to do their family medicine residency, and that's where they, so we needed to keep those physicians here. We wanted to recruit and retain those physicians here. So we have already graduated dozens of them, and most of them are staying here in Gwinnett, and they're practicing here in Gwinnett. So we're growing our own physicians now, and a lot of that had to do with Clyde and Sandra's philanthropy. He helped us create the Strickland Family Medicine Clinic, which is right over there off of 120 across the street from the hospital. We've had the Ellis family, Jim and Billy Ellis, have been so generous to us, helping us to build the Duluth campus, the Duluth Hospital. They've also helped us with our Diabetes Nutrition Education Center. Frank Cercelli, he named our neonatal intensive care unit.
That is an awesome. If nobody's ever been and observed that neonatal center, I think that it's still where they can actually get a tour of it and take a look at it. That is one unbelievable. It's amazing.
Man, every time I go down there, I'm reminded why I put the tie on. And because those little lives, man. I mean, there was a great story the other day. Stuart and Lisa Sink. Stuart won the British Open, and Lisa is on our foundation board. They do a pro-am tournament for us, and half of the money goes to our NICU because they had a baby early on in their life, in their marriage, and half of it goes to Obria, which used to be the Pregnancy Resource Center. And Robin Mock is the executive director over at Obria. And we used to kid around at the golf tournaments. I said, Robin, you get the babies here, and if they're sick, we'll make them better. So it's kind of a tag team thing. Mm-hmm. Well, it turned out that Robin's grandbaby, Finley Kate, was born at 26 weeks.
Wow.
And she spent 105 days in our NICU. And her dad, Jeff, was so inspired by the care that they got at Gwinnett Medical. He is a nursing student for neonatal intensive care now and wants to work at Gwinnett Medical Center because of us saving, through the grace of God and those doctors and nurses over there, we saved that baby. And Finley Kate is now 2 years old.
What a story.
Yeah, it was great because, Robin and I would just kid around about that before, but then it was true.
Yeah, then it really comes home.
It really came home.
Well, I know I've been through it. We took a tour one time with the Rotary Mosaic that you're into, and we went through there and just really got an up-close, personal look at it, and it was just, if your heart doesn't just go crazy when you're in there, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, Greg and Tammy Shemate were very generous. They gave us a neonatal transport, which is basically recreating the unit in a very small miniature way that can fit on an ambulance, where you can actually fit two. So if there is a situation, and we already had one, so if there was a situation where there are two emergencies at once, we had to say, okay, we'll go here and then we'll go there. Well, they enabled us to go to two places at one time, or if they're twins that were born, two different, transport units that were able to do that. So that was 100% philanthropy. And the doctors over in the NICU, they solely funded our cool cap system, which cools down the baby's blood, because if there's a lack of oxygen to the brain too long, that can cause damage. Well, you hear about these stories of people falling through the ice and they're down underwater for 10 minutes. Well, and they don't have anything wrong with them when they're revived, and it's because they're cool, they've been cooled down. Well, when you deliberately cool down a baby that's been oxygen deprived,
it does the same thing.
It does the same thing, and those doctors paid for it out of their own pocket, 100%. So it's just like there's so many inspirational stories like that.
There are so many people in our county of Gwinnett that are philanthropical, and that just out of the goodness of their hearts. Those stories of people like that can go on and on and on in Gwinnett. It amazes me because you go to a lot of the other counties, there's a lot going on, but I really think that Gwinnett's kind of well ahead on that as far as the people that step up.
Well, I believe it's part of healthcare. I think that research is showing that people that are generous, they live longer.
Absolutely.
About 7 years on average, and they're happier. And, I like to say that we assign meaning to money. And people laugh at me when I say that because they think I'm going to go after their wallet. But I really do mean that. I think that we have the privilege. I like to say that, and I'm going to quote a guy named Henry Rosso, who was kind of the grandfather of fundraising. But fundraising, it's the gentle art of teaching people the joy of giving. And that's what it is. I mean, you're helping.
Never heard that. That's good.
You're helping people assign meaning to what they have, and that's a mission.
Well, you can't. That's the old saying. You can't take it with you. So why not do good with it while you're here?
Yeah, I've never seen a U-Haul truck attached to a hearse.
I hear you. Have y'all got any more campaigns going on? Different campaigns that are coming up, or?
Yeah, so we're in what we call the Next Generation campaign right now, and we're focusing on recruiting and retaining talent, like I talked about before. Transformative technology is another thing that we're focused on. We want the very best equipment, the state-of-the-art equipment. We got a gift not too long ago for what they call I like to say it's electronavigational bronchoscope for lung nodules.
Star Trek.
Yeah, basically it's like a hair-size probe that goes into your lungs without having to open somebody up. And if there's a questionable mark, it can go up there, and this little teeny tiny microscopic hand can grab just a little bit of it, then take it out, and then do a biopsy to decide if they need to do anything else.
Wow.
It's minimally invasive. So that's kind of transformative technology. We're raising money for 3D imaging for breast cancer called tomosynthesis. And so, and the graduate medical education relates to recruiting and retaining, attracting talent. The other area that we've been focusing on a lot is plan giving. And, one of the things that we started not too long ago was what's called a Charitable gift annuity program, and it's a way that the foundation can pay donors. And I know that sounds strange, but I'll try and explain it. If a donor gives, let's say, $100,000 to Gwinnett Medical Center Foundation, we can enter into a contract with them where we agree to pay them a percentage of that based on their age for the rest of their lives. So let's say if you're 70 years old and you give the hospital foundation $100,000, we might say, okay, we'll give you 5% of that for the rest of your life. The income that you receive from the foundation is taxed at a lower rate than if it were ordinary income. And you get an immediate tax deduction. Then whatever's left over at the end of the donor's life comes to the foundation. Usually we book it as like a 50% gift. So about $50,000 of that $100,000 will end up coming back. But I like to think of it as a part of a well-rounded portfolio. People have, stock, or they might have some land, they might have some bonds, they might have their home. But having a charitable gift annuity, something that they're going to have income for life that can take care of the car payment and the light bill, and get a charitable deduction for it, and they're able to do something good with it. It literally is a win-win for everybody. So we've done several of these charitable gift annuities and part of our plan giving program, and we encourage everybody to just do a simple bequest. Include Gwinnett Medical Center Foundation in your estate plans, in your will. Put us in for 10% of the residual estate, which is after everything else is taken care of, whatever's left over, give 10% of it to the hospital foundation. And
that's a terrific idea.
We'll be great stewards of it.
And I like that where you're giving a percentage, but I've never heard of that done like that. That's very interesting.
You have to be a 501c3 charitable nonprofit in order to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so if someone went out and got a commercial annuity, they're probably going to get a little bit more than 5%. But after the charitable deduction, there's an effective rate of return of 7, 8, 9, sometimes 10 and 11% to the donor. So it really, it's a
win-win. Like
it's a win-win. And besides maybe giving stock is probably the most beneficial thing to a donor because they can deduct the full fair market value and we don't pay capital gains. So a lot of people will make a gift out of appreciated stock, and that's a good way to make a difference too. That
sounds fantastic. You doing any events like fishing trips or anything else coming up?
Well, I'm always trying to get
an
excuse to do. My boss says.
Golf outings?
Yeah, my boss, Phil Wolf, said, "So you're going fishing again, huh, Jay?" And I was like, "Yeah, we named the Heart Center on that boat." So, okay, we'll name another center. But yeah, I'll tell you what's coming up. And I mean, I'm so glad that you asked me about this because we want it to be a helicopter-worthy event. We want it to be like Woodstock out there. We're having an event on October the 26th. It's called Paint Gwinnett Pink. And the money is for local breast cancer survivors. We also help people get to their appointments. Believe it or not, there are people that, just can't afford to pay to get to the
transportation.
Yeah, transportation vouchers, but also transformative technology like the 3D imaging. So all of the funding goes to Gwinnett Breast Center at Gwinnett Medical. And it's a 5K walk run, which is great for me because I'm not going to, if I ran a 5K run, I don't think I'd care if I died.
Yeah,
but I can walk it.
Probably would be.
I can definitely walk it. But we're going to be at the Striper Stadium, October 26th. Registration starts at 7 o'clock in the morning. The walk run starts at 9. And we're going to have barbecue and hot dogs and hamburgers for everybody afterwards.
Some of that good low-calorie, healthy food.
You've burned a lot of calories after that, so you need to, it's kind of a recovery.
There you go.
A recovery meal.
I've used that phrase a lot.
I like to say everything in moderation, even moderation.
Yep.
But yeah, go to paintgwinnettpink.org. That's PAINTGWINNETT Pink, PINK.org, and start a team. And if you don't want to start a team, then just participate. I think it's like $35 to sign up, and again, all that money stays local. And we just want it to be a huge event. We had about 2,000 people last year, and I want to double it every year.
Oh, that would be a terrific goal and a terrific accomplishment if you can do that. All right, let's see. What else can we talk about? How about we talked about that? Are you still in Boy Scouts?
Oh yeah, Boy Scouts. I'm still on the corporate board. We've been doing that for years. I think, probably 8 years now. And we ran the Lawrenceville campaign this year. Scooter Bullock and I did that, and we got our $40,000 goal. And that's just it's a great organization. A lot of kids. I've said before. Some of the best people I've ever met have grown up in single parent households and just had angel mothers and angel grandmothers. But I will also say, in my personal opinion, that I think that one of the biggest problems that we have in the nation right now is too many dads are giving up.
Yep.
And you see the negative fruit of that all over the place. Boy Scouts give a little bit of that back, a lot of that back, and it gives those kids an opportunity to, learn things that maybe just dads are going to teach them. But it's also inclusive for moms to teach them things that they might not know that they need to teach their sons. And the Girl Scouts are also a great organization. But I think that investing in those young men is so critically important, not only to them but our whole society. And the Boy Scouts just do a fantastic job of camping, teaching them how to live, and how to survive, and take responsibility and help others. And in a lot of ways, it's kind of like Rotary. It's service above self. and in so doing, you're discovering and identifying, assigning meaning to yourself.
There you go. You know, it's not just about the lack of fathers and stuff. It gives the boys some good companionship, some good camaraderie, and learning to develop healthy relationships with good people. And it gives them something to do, gets them out of themselves, get them out of that playground in their mind, and keeps them out of trouble.
Or playground on their device. I mean,
exactly.
I tell you what, if we cut them off, we're going out in the woods, they're not going to be able to get reception anyway, and that's good. That's a good thing.
Leave that stuff behind.
Leave that stuff behind.
Oh, well, I tell you, it's been absolutely fantastic having you come in. If somebody wants to get in touch with you about the Gwinnett Medical Foundation, and can you repeat some of those email addresses and maybe a telephone number?
Absolutely. You can go to gmcgiving.org. That's Gwinnett Medical Center, giving.org, but you just gmcgiving.org. That's our website. If you want to call us, we're always there. 678-312-8500 is our direct line, and you can again go to Paint Gwinnett Pink to see how you can be a part of that big event that's coming up in October. We also have a donor appreciation gala every year for our $1,000 donors. That's usually in February. Last year we had Jeff Foxworthy as our guest speaker.
That was cool.
Vince Gill has been there before, and we get corporate sponsorships to pay for all of that. So it's and those are marketing dollars that we otherwise wouldn't get. So I like to halfway kid sometimes that there are corporation marketing and advertising dollars that pay us to thank our donors.
Hey, it works.
Yeah, so that's a fun event. It's a Cornerstone Society Gala. And then, of course, we have our Mason Golf Tournament in May each year. So those are three different ways that you can volunteer or get involved. But go to gmcgiving.org to find out more.
I need to keep an eye out for that May golf tournament. So we can get in there as Paradigm.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But thank you again. I want to also just say a quick little note for my sponsor, Soulsby Garage at 200 Bay Creek Road in Loganville, Georgia. Phone number 678-625-2127, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5:30. They are same-day service is available for a lot of repairs, and like people like me, I've got just 14 service vehicles out there, so I want them taken care of, but more important is my own personal ones, and I trust him with anything I've got. So take a look at Soulsby's Garage. So I want to thank you again and for joining us on Case in Point, presented by Paradigm Security Services. Remember that you can join us live every Wednesday at 11:30 in the morning, or you can listen to our show anytime you want by going to businessradiox.com, clicking on the Gwinnett Studio, then, of course, click on Case in Point. Join us next week at 11:30 when we will talk with business leaders about their businesses, related security issues in today's world. Thanks again to my guest, Jason Chandler. And for the producers, Mike and Trey, I'm Rick Strawn. And remember, at Paradigm Security Services, we cover more than just your assets.